I wish you a very good evening here from the Ramblewood Soccer Complex, and one of the great things about sports are streaks. And of course, when you talk about streaks in sports, you have to begin with Joe DiMaggio and his 56-game hitting streak that he set back in the 1940s, back in 1941 in fact, and that streak has managed to stand the test of time and substance abuse for that matter. And then there's the team streaks. In the NBA, the Los Angeles Lakers, who won 33 consecutive games during the 1972-73 season, led by Jerry West and Wilt Chamberlain. That Lakers team would go on to defeat the New York Knicks and win their first ever world championship in Los Angeles. In hockey, the 1979-1980 Philadelphia Flyers went undefeated for 35 games. To put that in context, they went from October 16th, 1979 to January 6, 1980 without losing a game. And in soccer, the Rochester Rhinos are after their own piece of glory. In its 20th year as a franchise, spanning several different forms of USL, the Rhinos have opened the 2015 season going undefeated in its first 19 games. They have 12 wins and 7 ties with no losses. The USL record, 22 games, set 2 years ago by the Richmond Kickers, who lost only 1 game the entire regular season. Tonight, the only team that has not lost to Rochester in Salem Stadium this year, Charlotte Independence, will try to play the role that the Milwaukee Bucks played back in 1973 against the Los Angeles Lakers, or, for that matter, Brock Lesnar did last year against The Undertaker. And that's beat and end the streak. And good evening here from Ramblewood Soccer Complex. I'm Jeff Hamlin, and we are live here for Charlotte Independence, currently in 10th place in the USL's Eastern Conference with a mark of 5-6-5. They have 20 points on the year, going up against the team that is leading the regular season race in not only the Eastern Conference, but the entire USL, the Rochester Rhinos. They are 12-0-7, as I mentioned, and they have 43 points. As you see that the concession has moved on now, and we're going to pause for the national anthem as we come at you live here tonight on a very hot and sun-drenched day here today in the Queen City, as we're going to pause for our national anthem, getting ready for this big kickoff between Charlotte and Rochester, the second and final meeting of the regular season between these two teams. You see members of the Charlotte Volunteer and full-time fire department marching onto the field now. And we'll have our national anthem here tonight from the Queen City. Beautiful rendition of the national anthem here tonight from Ramblewood Soccer Complex as Charlotte playing the second game of a 3-game homestand. Here's how the starting lineups will go tonight. First of all, for Rochester, starting in net is a Charlotte native. Brandon Miller will start in net. He has already posted 10 shutouts this season. Miller went to UNC Wilmington, but he played his high school soccer here in the Charlotte area at Charlotte Country Day. The defensive back line for Rochester is really how this team is now on pace to set a record for fewest goals in a USL season. Pat McMahon will be one back, and Julian Ringoff will be the other. The center backs, though, are particularly striking. Grant Vanda Castillo and Vasil Apostolopoulos. Those will be the center backs. The midfielders will be Tony Walls, Mike Garzi, Johnny Mendoza, and Canardo Forbes. And the strikers will be Andy Dixon and Steven Dos Santos, who has 6 goals and is tied right now for the team lead in goals with a man who will be on the bench tonight for Rochester, Christian Valesky. Meanwhile, for Independence, Matt Lamson playing his 5th game in an Independence uniform, again on loan from the Columbus Crew. He'll be between the pipes tonight. The defensive backs will be Belial Duckett and Patrick Slogic, who missed last week's game, his first game all year that he was absent from. Ben Noonan and Mishak Jerome will be the center backs. The midfielders, Carlos Alvarez, Paulo Del Piccolo. Alex Martinez has scored his first goal last week. Enzo Martinez and Andrew Rivera will be in the 5-man midfield front, and Tomasz Zahorsky listed as the only striker tonight. He will get the start at the forward position. You'll notice once again that Jorge Herrera is not in the starting lineup tonight for Independence. He will miss his 4th game, the leading scorer for Charlotte, because of a calf injury suffered during the warm-ups of the Louisville City game that happened back on July the 11th. So for the 4th straight game, Charlotte will be without its leading scorer. Of course, Herrera also didn't play back on July 18th when Charlotte went to Rochester and came out with a scoreless tie. I know many Independence fans were anticipating perhaps Charlotte getting its leading scorer back just in time here to play a Rochester team that is riding atop USL, but that is not to be the case. So Independence will have to make do with what they have. The referee for tonight's game, Nick Barbalescu, tossed the coin moments ago. Charlotte won the toss and opted to open the game with the possession. Rochester and their gold and green uniforms. One of the few times they've worn that all year. Usually they go with their standard white tops, both at home and on the road. Charlotte in their standard home uniforms in royal blue with white trim. We're underway here tonight as we get going between Independence and Rochester. Earlier today, Louisville City tied the Toronto FC 2 team 2-2. So a win tonight by Rochester will give them an opportunity to pad its lead in the Eastern Conference. Currently, they are 7 points clear of Louisville City for first place in the East. Rochester right now standing at 43 points after today's draw. Louisville City has 36. It is 93 degrees at kickoff here tonight at Ramblewood Soccer Complex, and we're very happy you're with us here on YouTube as the sun beats down on us here. It'll set another 35 minutes or so, but until then, the humidity is going to remain high. It was listed, according to some weather forecast online, at 26%. Some of the fans sitting here in the sun might take issue with that. Canardo Forbes, who played last year in the CONCACAF Champions League with Waterhouse of the Jamaican League, had that ball go off his head, and Charlotte takes back over. And one thing about Rochester that you'll notice certainly is the fact that they are a patient team that doesn't come at you in waves in terms of goals. Right now they are 23 goals for and 6 against, even goal differential of 17. Despite only giving up only 6 goals all year long, they still don't lead USL in goal differential. That still belongs to Louisville City, who remain at plus 19 after today's 2-2 draw with Toronto FC. Apostolopoulos with the ball, and he'll send it back to Brandon Miller. Young man from Charlotte who played at UNC Wilmington, as we mentioned earlier, and he's a testament to how patience will pay off. He had to sit behind 2 players for Rochester who were first-team USL goalkeepers over the last 5 years. Had to wait his turn, and now he is reaping the benefits after waiting a long, long time. Christian Nick was one of those players who wound up taking the spot. Back in 2012, he was first-team USL goalkeeper. He's now with Indy 11 of the NASL, and last year it was John McCarthy, who is now with Philadelphia Union. Ball skipped ahead. It goes to Dos Santos. Now after it Forbes, it was poked away by Noonan. Again, Rochester is a possession-based team, and you're going to see that an awful lot here tonight if Rochester can keep the ball long enough. Certainly, Charlotte wants to do everything it can to try to disrupt that, as Andrew Rivera hit with a foul that results in some moans from the Charlotte faithful here, who are shielding their eyes. We thank our director here tonight, Mark Rowland. Also thank Trey Farrell, TJ Farrell, our cameraman, along with Akeem Robinson. Del Piccolo now with it. Zaworski created the takeaway. Alex Martinez coming off his first goal of the season last week. It was nominated for USL Goal of the Week last week in the victory over FC Montreal. He had possession a moment ago. Mishak Jerome in his second game back with Independence after his month-long stint with Haiti in the U.S. Gold Cup sends it along to Belial Duckett, now Matt Lamson, who took home his first Charlotte victory last week and only had to make one save in the process. One shot on net for Montreal the entire game. Charlotte dominated the game to such a degree they had 8 shots on net at halftime. Noonan chested it down near sideline. Duckett will take back over. Charlotte trying to find some rhythm as we're 4 minutes into the proceedings here tonight at Ramblewood Soccer Complex. And Pat McMahon with that long wavy hair heads it back. Trying to find passing lanes against this tough back line for Rochester has proven to be a chore indeed for many, many teams in USL. A couple of headers back-to-back, first by Forbes, then to Dos Santos out of play. Rochester plays on a turf field, and they have good old-fashioned artificial turf that you'd see on many Sundays in the 1970s in the NFL. There was talk at one point in time that Rochester was in line for an MLS team, but that died down as the odds came to an end. Pass along. Goes to the far side. Pat McMahon with it. Got it from Garzi. Now it's Forbes. Dos Santos goes down as the players were looking up for him, but he was trying to split the center backs. Mendoza goes to the far sideline. McMahon on the overlap as it chested back to him. Here's Mendoza going in as he was looking for Dos Santos, the 6'4" Dos Santos, who has indoor soccer experience. They call him Duba, as the ball poked away, and we have our first corner of the night as we're in the 6th minute. Mendoza usually handles corner duties for Rochester. We'll see if they change that up here tonight. Looks like it's going to be Canardo Forbes, though, in his 6th professional season, played with Waterhouse. And I mentioned 6 pro seasons. That doesn't necessarily mean all of them have been outdoor games. He's played 4 years with the Syracuse Silver Knights in indoor soccer of the Major Arena Soccer League. Forbes has his corner chested out. Rochester called down for an offside anyway. Bob Lilly, the veteran head coach for Rochester, actually in his second, formerly the head coach of Vancouver and Montreal when they were members of the A-League, which of course was a predecessor to USL. Vancouver, Montreal, Seattle, and Portland would all move on from the A-League, and of course now they are in MLS. It's interesting looking back at those old A-League numbers. Seattle, during one of those years, that same franchise that nowadays can fill up Quest Stadium with 40, 45,000, maybe 30,000 on a soft night. In 2001, they averaged less than 2,000 fans a game. It's a testament to giving things time and seeing how they play out. Nice cross by Martinez. Zaworski just mistimed his jump, and he gave Alex a big thumbs up, looking to the far sideline, realizing that that pass was right on target. It was a quality service that time by Martinez. And now a long lead once again. Alvarez is called offside, and the fans upset over that one. Offside trap applied by Rochester that time. And a rich crowd has filtered into Ramblewood Soccer Complex here, probably a season high. Last week we had our best crowd of the year in terms of games at Ramblewood. Still haven't eclipsed the season debut back in March against Charleston, a game that was played over at Transamerica Field at UNC Charlotte. But they were upset about that offside call just a moment ago. Matt Lampson in his 5th game of a 6-game loan from Columbus Crew SC. He is scheduled to be here on Wednesday against the New York Red Bulls, too. Long pass ahead, skips off ahead. Here comes Newnham on the overlap, the one touch by Enzo Martinez. Now Newnham gets it on net. Short shot, saved at the end line, rebound comes across, Enzo sends it wide. First it was a save, it looked like on the end line, Johnny Mendoza got it. And then Martinez was well positioned for the rebound, and he sent it wide right. A golden opportunity to put one on the board that would have sent this crowd roaring. Enzo just sent the rebound a little bit wide. I believe Mendoza was the one who got it. Have a foul whistled here against Tony Walls. And now the referee, Nick Barbalescu, comes over after Walls had some strong dissent. And that's going to be his final lecture before a card is pulled out, you can bet. So a sterling chance early here for Independence, and Rochester doesn't give up opportunities like that very often. Martinez ahead, turning quickly, Enzo Martinez, but his pass was shut down by Vanda Castile. Up the field, Jerome puts it back in play. Miller will let that one hop to him. Interesting thing about Brandon Miller, you would think that with all the shutouts Rochester has posted this year that USL honors would come his way left and right, but he hasn't been named to the All-USL team any week this season. He has 33 saves to his credit, however. When you factor that in, though, he's only making about 2 saves per appearance. So it's one thing when you see a team notch a lot of shutouts, but in Miller's case, the ball just doesn't get to him very often. And, of course, as we saw just a moment ago, the best chance early on here tonight for Charlotte, just trickle wide right, and Miller never touched the ball on 2 golden opportunities. We remain scoreless. Happy you're with us here tonight on YouTube. Apostolopoulos chested ahead. Dos Santos is going to be judged. He had a handball that time. Apostolopoulos, as you can imagine, didn't agree with that. Apostolopoulos in his first season playing in the United States. He spent the last couple of years playing in Greece. This is his 4th professional season. Played with Greek sides Vidiotin and Puskas over the last 3 years, where he made 27 appearances for Puskas. Well, Charlotte's going to be very patient, as you can imagine, against this team. But Independence has come up with some great opportunities. Rochester coming off a 1-0 win last week over Charleston Battery. Julian Ringoff, the left back, sends it down the field. Duckett will head it on to Lamson. Matt has posted back-to-back clean sheets. The scoreless tie against Rochester 2 weeks ago tonight, and then last week, the 2-0 victory over FC Montreal. Header by Zahorski. Martinez bounces it down. Back comes into Independence. Martinez goes down. Referee says he got it clean. Ball ahead by Johnny Mendoza. Rochester is not a team that has scored goals in the bunches this year. They're a team that's very steady, that can create a very rhythmless game. It's sort of like watching Floyd Mayweather or Bernard Hopkins in a boxing match. They're productive without being too flashy. Interception there by Jerome, who's been sterling throughout the season. Down goes Enzo Martinez on a pass intended to him by his brother. Turnover created by number 3, Alex Dixon. Forbes lobs it ahead. Patrick Slodgett races down, keeps the ball inbounds. But couldn't do so, according to the assistant to the far side. It will be the second Rochester corner of the game. As the sun continues to beat down, what may be the best crowd of the season here by any stretch for Charlotte Independence is on hand here tonight. And this is, again, what a streak can do. It churns up talk throughout town. And as fans wait for American football season to get here, they want to spend a night on the pitch. Mendoza will go far sideline to send in the corner. Farbs is to his right. Mendoza sends it. It was headed out. Looked like by Belial Duckett, who went down, and it's going to be a foul whistle. The referee caught that Belial was hit on the side of the head as he cleared away that corner, and Charlotte will get it right back. Independence comes in 22nd in USL. We talked about how Rochester hasn't exactly piled up goals. Of course, neither has Independence, although they do have a few games at hand against most of the rest of the Eastern Conference. 22nd in the league right now is Independence in terms of goals scored after putting up a pair last week against FC Montreal. Mendoza tries to lob it down the field, looking for Dixon down the field. Couldn't get it. Newnham comes over, and then he pushes Mendoza right down to the turf, and that's going to be an easy call for Nick Barbalescu. In fact, they have that railing put up here that usually is not up for all other games that take place on this field here at Ramblewood Soccer Complex. Of course, it is here because of the gathering that comes on here each and every time Charlotte plays a game. And Mendoza wound up almost crashing into it. Ringhoff. Now Vanda Castile. Nice chop down the field looking for Dos Santos. Jerome gets a head on it. Lampson manages to jump up and grab it down before Dos Santos can cause some damage. Big play early on there. Jerome helped get the balance off what was a fine service that time by Tony Garzi. And Dos Santos with his 6'4" frame, and he's got a lot of speed for a big man. Just couldn't jump and didn't really have the right leverage that time as he was a little bit off balance to get that ball from Matt Lampson. Vanda Castile, a candidate for all USL. Look out, Ringhoff wound up getting some high spikes. That might result in a card. Let's see. Ringhoff, Nick Barbalescu cautioning him now. No booking. Foul was drawn by Enzo Martinez. The Met deck to the right side of the stadium probably as populated as it's been all year. Great crowd on hand here tonight. Charlotte wants to give these fans something to cheer about. The service there by Zahorski is captured immediately by Brandon Miller. We talked about Bob Lilly trying to get this Rochester team back to a championship. This was the most decorated A-League team in history during that league's existence. Lilly, a 3-time A-League Coach of the Year, including back in 2010 with Rochester. He walked away from the team in 2011. He was about to come back to the squad in 2013 after they got off to a dismal 1-6-1 start. But ultimately, he said no to the overtures then. But as the 2014 season started, he found himself wanting to coach again after spending a couple of years away from coaching and largely in youth camps, and opted to come back and restart his coaching career with the Rhinos. And it's been a successful return. They made the playoffs last year where they lost to the Los Angeles Galaxy 2 in the first round. And certainly they'll be a playoff team this year and in all likelihood the regular season champions of the league, barring a collapse. Alvarez to Newnham. And this is the pressure we've been expecting from Rochester. They really haven't pressed as much early on in this game, which has allowed Charlotte some free passing lanes. Here's Jerome sending it down the field. Patrick Slodgett running up from the left back position. Can't quarry that one down. as we enter the 18th minute, still scoreless. I told you that Rochester was the most successful team in the history of the A-League. They won 3 postseason championships. Trying to create a turnover there was Enzo Martinez and nearly succeeded as he pressured Pat McMahon. Rochester, the runner-ups twice in the A-League. They captured 2 regular season championships under their former head coach and the current team president, Pat Ercole. They haven't won a postseason championship, however, since they defeated the Hershey Wildcats 2-0 back in 2001. And oddly enough, the man who was coaching Hershey that day is the man now coaching Rochester, Bob Lilly. Enzo Martinez takes a good pass from Paulo Del Piccolo, tackle from behind. Foul is called. Martinez wants a little bit more. He won't get it. But Charlotte will get a free kick from roughly 35 yards away. Martinez came up strong that time on another fine pass, that time from Paulo Del Piccolo. And now a quartet of Charlotte players standing around trying to figure out who's going to take the corner. Jerome will fire it. It goes into the wall. Will end up catching a Rochester player in the place you don't want to be caught in. And out of play, and that Rochester player is still down. And so the trainers will come out to work on him. In 2 of the last 4 years, Rochester has had the first-team All-USL goalkeeper, as we mentioned. And if you saw John McCarthy play for Philadelphia Union last week in the U.S. Open Cup when they defeated the New York Red Bulls in the quarterfinals, you saw one heck of a display. For the second straight game in Open Cup play, Union wound up playing over 60 minutes with 10 men. And still they wound up winning. They won in the 5th round over DC United playing with 10. And because of the goaltending of McCarthy, they wound up winning with 10 as well. Looks like the player that was injured working his way off the field, and that was Julian Ringoff, I believe. As Ringoff is brought to the sidelines. Let's see if he's going to need to be substituted for him or if he'll just stay on the sidelines for a couple of seconds and then walk back out. It is Ringoff. I remember that fierce back line. Now, quite often we will see Anua Abasi on the back line, but that's one of the luxuries that Bob Lilly has is the fact that he can almost interchange players, and a lot of players have tallied over 800, 900, even 1,000 minutes for this Rochester team. Bob Lilly has stuck with a core group of players for the most part, and it's worked for him as they look for their 20th consecutive game without a loss due to the Rhinos. 21 minutes in, Charlotte had a great opportunity early on. A shot that was sent in on net by Alvarez that was kicked away on net by Johnny Mendoza, and then on the ensuing rebound, Enzo Martinez pushed it just a little wide right. That's all that was keeping, as Ringoff is back on the field now for Rochester. Charlotte from taking a 1-0 lead. Dos Santos has the ball bounce off his leg. Charlotte wins the ball. Alvarez, Enzo Martinez, looks for Zahorski. Back heel, play to the right. Noonan will run up to it. Here comes Independence now, trying to get a flow going offensively. Header away by Vanda Castile. Apostolopoulos. Ribeiro looks to flop the field. Alex Martinez will try to win the header against the much taller Pat McMahon, but does. Zahorski there on the edge of the box. Del Piccolo moves to the left. Slogic. His pass was fended off by Pat McMahon, who sent it away to Miller. Ball to midfield. Jerome battles for it with Dos Santos. Rochester will come back now. That's Tony Walls. Up the field for Michael Garzi. Now it's Forbes. And Rochester, as they so often do, will remain patient offensively. Here's Garzi playing it alongside for Forbes. Carnardo, Pat McMahon down the right sideline. Now it goes to Dixon. Ball chipped in by Mendoza, and it went well wide of everyone. Have some matchups in the Western Conference tonight of USL. In fact, there was one last night that was the attention of the league, and that was Colorado Springs winning over the Los Angeles Galaxy 2-0. So with that, the Galaxy remain tied for first in the Western Conference with the Seattle Sounders FC. Speaking of Seattle, they are on the road tonight. They are playing Sacramento Republic in a critical Western Conference matchup. Enzo Martinez ahead to his brother. Here comes Alex charging in, deflection, and it goes up in the back deck. Just getting his foot out there from behind was Vanda Castile. And the native of Plano, Texas, kept that ball from going to Enzo Martinez. That could have resulted in Enzo's second goal of the year. Last week, Enzo assisted on the second of two Charlotte goals. Now Enzo will take Charlotte's first corner of the night. Here in the 24th minute. Goes into the box, headed by Slogic, but it'll go wide right. Fans on the near side grandstands facing the sun, which of course is setting west. It's the difference between a 7 o'clock kickoff and a 7:30 kickoff, which was the case last week. Charlotte has had some opportunities here. They had a dangerous corner there. Slogic, the 6'6" Cornell graduate, looking for his third goal of the season. Del Piccolo, Alex Martinez still down. His brother dribbles the ball. Meanwhile, Enzo, trip from behind, foul called. Tony Walls is going to be hit with a yellow. That will be Walls' third yellow of the year. Or the card came up, it looked like that.
A yellow card has been issued against the Rochester Rhinos in the 20th.
Let's see, it might have been Vanda Castile. Nope, they called it on Walls. So that is his third of the year. Coming into tonight, Alex Martinez has 4 cautions. One more will result in a suspension in Charlotte's next game. And now we have another yellow issued. This one whistled against Michael Garzi. So Nick Barbalescu coming on now. And we heard enough cautions early on here tonight in the first 15 minutes of this game. Now cards, sure enough, are being warranted and issued. So one to Tony Walls, the other to Michael.
A yellow card was also issued against the Rochester Rhinos on number 13, Mike Garzi. Yellow card issued against
Enzo Martinez standing back. He will take this free kick. It is fended away by Vanda Castile. Enzo there to receive it once again. Playing it in is Nunum. Alex Martinez trying to size it up an opportunity, but it was Brandon Miller who came down, and the Charlotte native ends that threat against his hometown team. Dos Santos battles for this loose ball. Meshach Jerome doing an excellent job matched up against the man who is tied for the team lead in goals scored, and another foul called at midfield as Alex Martinez again goes down. Or excuse me, that was Enzo Martinez. Nunum tries to spring it up the right sideline. Alvarez was waiting on it. Late dive put on by Julian Ringoff. It was Nunum who was wound up with an assist on a goal last week as well. The first of the year scored by that man there, Alex Martinez, who curves to the center of the field. His pass denied by Walls. And then Alex Martinez dives after a ball, and now Alex is going to pick up a card, and that's bad news for Charlotte. Alex Martinez will miss the New York Red Bulls game on Wednesday night. 5th caution of the year for Alex Martinez, and that's going to be a suspension. So Alex is out on Wednesday night after that foul that came just shy of midfield. And that's going to make Jorge Herrera's recovery all the more important over the next few days because Charlotte simply has to have somebody who can play the 10 role. Without Jorge Herrera, Charlotte has struggled to find someone to do that job. Alex Martinez has filled in admirably. But now Charlotte won't have him on Wednesday.
Number 23, Alex Martinez. Number 23.
Ball comes in. Dos Santos had a head of steam, but the free kick that came in from Van de Castillo whizzed right by him. We remain deadlocked here as we come up on the 29th minute of the contest. Matt Lamson, man from Cleveland, Tennessee. Zahorsky tries to put himself under the ball, ring off, heads it out of play. Has some ball girls here tonight at Ramblewood Soccer Complex, as we're just adding new things each and every week. We've got a great crowd on hand here this evening. Andrew Ribeiro starting once again. He has started every contest this year in USL play for Independence, and several of the Open Cup games as well. Here's Forbes with a head of steam, running down the sideline against Jerome, but couldn't keep the ball in play. We talked about Andrew Ribeiro. He surpassed 1,300 minutes on the season last week, and now he has surpassed over 1,400 minutes. Did so just moments ago. See a Rochester fan out in the distance as well. Happy they've made the trek out tonight, all the way down from Western New York. Pat McMahon tried to play it forward to Dix and went off his foot into the fourth official area. Ball will go into the box as Miller heads it on. Talked about where the Rhinos play their games, stadium that they share with Western New York of the NWSL. Speaking of the NWSL, did you see that goal that Carly Lloyd scored the other night for the Houston Dash? Carly has not lost a thing since the World Cup. Fatigue has certainly not caught up with her after that gorgeous strike from about 25 yards out. If you haven't caught that on YouTube, you should. Some debate about who should have possession of the ball after it went out of bounds. Alex Martinez will take it for Independence. Noonan will take the crossfield pass from Meshach Jerome. Here's Ribeiro. Pressure coming down on him here from Tony Walls. Duckett maintains possession. Zahorsky with Ribeiro. Martinez with a light touch, hoping for Zahorsky to catch up on it, but Pat McMahon was there, the former player from UIC, Illinois Chicago. Held off Zahorsky to give Rochester a throw. Pat McMahon played in Australia. It was his first professional team down under, sort of. Played with a semi-pro team called Wynham District SC, and he was named Player of the Year in that Aussie League. Wound up playing last year in Rochester. And over at UIC, he holds the school record with 85 starts. Played in every game he was eligible for with the Flames. Noonan to the right. Rochester hasn't been able to do very much with its possessions, but all they need is one. That's been the theme for much of the year. Here's Mendoza running to the left. Challenging Alvarez one-on-one. Mendoza goes down. It was a clean challenge, but referee rules that it went off Alvarez last. I'm not too loud for you guys, am I? So Rochester with its third corner of the game. Rochester lines up Dos Santos in the 6-yard box. Mendoza's service. Backed up, and it goes in. Goal. It bounced off a body. Mendoza sent it in, and it looked like it went off the back of Grant Vida Castillo. And Lamson didn't see it. He was shielded by several other bodies.
Rochester goal in the 32nd minute.
We'll wait for official word. I believe it was Vanda Castile who got it, though. Mendoza will get the assist regardless. And it's 1-0 in the 32nd minute. So Charlotte winds up getting burned off a set piece. Preston is to the opposite end of the field. For Mendoza, that will be his first assist of the year, and he might get credited for the goal. That ball did bounce off a body, though, and I thought it was Vanda Castillo who seemed to be the one celebrating the most who wound up getting it. We haven't had an official announcement as of yet, though. Nuna places it right for Alvarez. Charlotte desperately needs an equalizer. Alvarez looking for Alex Martinez. Now Del Piccolo with a back trip. Zahorski tries to catch up with it. Once again, Pat McMahon comes over to clear it away. It's not only a very skilled back line, but it's a tall back line for Rochester. Apostolopoulos, 6'3". Pat McMahon, 6 feet tall. Vanda Castile is 6'2". Duckett will try the right channel. Zahorski in a foot race. Who managed to beat Apostolopoulos to the ball. Plays the cross. Martinez with a light touch. Has a chance. Goal! And just when you think you know the answers, they change the questions. Alex Martinez, his second of the year. It's an equalizer. In the 34th minute, Charlotte gets the goal to tie the game at 1. What a fabulous cross that was. And Alex Martinez scores for the second straight week, just the 7th goal conceded this year by Rochester. Well, Martinez had to wait almost the entire year. He had to wait 15 games to score a goal. Did so last week against FC Montreal, and now he's got goals in consecutive games. And a perfect time for it after the goal by Rochester really deflated the crowd. Here's Ringoff down the left side, out of play. So it's Martinez getting the goal. No assist announced, but there should be one, I would think, from Zahorski, which would be his first assist of the year. Mendoza will line up another corner here.
Rhinos corner kick taken by number 11, Johnny Mendoza.
Lines up. There to send it away is Jerome. Martinez running down the field with Forbes. Martinez will pick up the foul. That's Enzo. And Kennard Forbes, in his 6th professional season, winds up drawing it. And he and Enzo are still jawing. So now from 35 yards away, it will be Mendoza lining it up, headed away easily and quickly by Del Piccolo. Enzo Martinez charges. Dos Santos heads. Can't put it forward. Zahorski there to win the ball back. Here comes Alvarez for Charlotte, but that was quickly taken away by Mendoza. So after some inaction and Rochester scoring on the set piece, it was Alex Martinez scoring off a gorgeous cross. Zahorski hasn't been given credit for an assist yet, and for that matter, there's been no announcement of the Rochester goal. We'll go down to the press tent at halftime. It should go to Vanda Castillo, which would be his first of the year. We'll check. Enzo Martinez taken down. Apostolopoulos comes on to make a hard challenge. No call. Martinez tries to run the ball down in the land of giants over there with Pat McMahon and Apostolopoulos. McMahon keeps it in play away from Martinez. Now Del Piccolo comes over to help. Patrick Slogic. Del Piccolo. Good touch ahead. Here's the overlap. Del Piccolo has a chance for a cross. Goes in. Alvarez goes down. He's furious there was no call. Charlotte maintains possession with Ribeiro. Noonan was there on the right side. It looked like that Alvarez was caught there with Apostolopoulos. Del Piccolo, quick header. Zahorsky with a chance. Goal! Tomas Zahorsky heads it on right past Brandon Miller. And Charlotte leads 2-1 in the 38th minute. Zahorsky scores his second USL goal of the year. Remember, he had a hat trick in the U.S. Open Cup against Upward Stars. And he scored against the Chicago Fire in the U.S. Open Cup as well. Martinez goes down. And we'll see if Del Piccolo will get an assist. Hasn't been announced as of yet. But 2 goals scored by Charlotte here. And Independence has the lead against Rochester. It is 2-1. That's news in and of itself. Just the fact that Rochester has given up 2 goals says a ton.
Fans, a yellow card has been issued against the Rhinos in the 39th minute on number 15, Pat McMahon.
Pat McMahon now picks up a yellow. And for McMahon, that will be his 4th yellow of the year, so he is on the edge of a suspension. Ringhoff wins the ball back. Now Rochester pressed in a unfamiliar position and a deficit. Here's Dixon running down. Very fine play ahead. Alex Dixon to the right. Matched up on Duckett. His ball deflected in net. Went off the shoe of Jerome and right to the arms of Lampson. Alvarez back the other way. This is the first time all year that Rochester has given up 2 goals in a game. You have to remember another thing about Rochester is that they are a team offensively that saves its best for the last 15 minutes. But this is the first time all year they've given up multiple goals in a game. As we're in the 40th minute, Charlotte trailed after a corner kick went in the net, bounced off a body and went right past Lampson, and had managed to score 2 goals within 7 minutes. First, it was Alex Martinez, and then it was Tomas Zahorsky. All within 5 minutes of each other, Charlotte with a 2-1 lead. One of the few times all year that Rochester has trailed, and the first time, as we mentioned, that they have given up multiple goals in a game. Duckett to the right. We'll see if Bob Bluey changes his approach here, but again, you have to remember, Rochester has played many games this year where they wound up scoring once or twice in the final 15 minutes. Did so against Toronto FC2 a couple of times. Dos Santos running down. That's shut down by Jerome. Ribeiro will volley it on. Alvarez looking for a light touch. Apostolopoulos on, intercepted by Del Piccolo. Running down to the left, Martinez. He's able to catch up with it. McMahon matching up on him. Alex will try the far sideline, and his cross almost goes into the net deck. Well, there's been some gorgeous setups, though, by Charlotte. Again, they're playing without their top scorer, and Jorge Herrera for the 4th straight game. But even without Jorge, Charlotte has managed to find open passing lanes, and really they haven't done it over the last 10 minutes. It's been apparent throughout the course of this game. It was apparent in the opening 10 minutes. And, of course, 2 goals on the scoreboard, one from Martinez, his 2nd of the year, and Zahorsky also getting his 2nd in USL play. Overall, that's his 6th goal of the season, counting Open Cup play. Speaking of Zahorsky, he's got them all, the native of Poland, where they had their Woodstock Festival this past week. In fact, they had 700,000 people on to watch the events from Warsaw. I know that because one of my favorite bands, Dream Theater, was playing us. TJ Harrell's favorite band, too, Dream Theater. Right, Trey? TJ? You guys? Oh, guess not? Okay, well, yeah, Dream Theater. Okay, well, guess not. Apostolopoulos kicks the ball into the parking lot, and I mean he kicked it into the parking lot. Went over the grandstand. Del Piccolo to the right, looks for service. Zahorski is there, headed away by Vanda Castile. It's loose, and then Miller has to dive to prevent perhaps an own goal. This is as rattled as we've seen Rochester. Another fine service, that time by Del Piccolo. And Zahorski has been as effective in finishing tonight and creating chances that are given to him on a silver platter. More tonight than at any point this year. Charlotte knew they would have to play its best game of the season, and 42 minutes in, they haven't disappointed. The corner by Martinez, headed right back out by Mendoza. It'll be a do-over. 43 minutes in now. Martinez opts to go to the perimeter. Del Piccolo will look for a cross, finds it on the left. Kicked out by Apostolopoulos. Alvarez. Enzo Martinez placed it in the 6-yard box, and it was kicked out by Vanda Castile. And it will be another corner. And ever since those two goals, Charlotte continues to knock on the door, almost realizing that even against the Rochester team not known for its offensive ability, they'll need one more to get 3 on their side. Enzo places it in. Slogic has it headed to him, gets a head on it, but not hard enough. You could see that forming, and Patrick got his 6'6" frame in there, even though there was an arm around his waist. Still managed to get free, but not quite free enough to make that shot more lethal. So we remain 2-1 Charlotte. Ringhoff to the left side. Vasile Apostolopoulos. Goes far side, Vanda Castile to Pat McMahon. In the 44th minute now, with Charlotte leading 2-1. Walls plays it in, but it's too far for Dixon. Rochester opened the scoring. And just as we suspected, Grant Vanda Castile does get the goal for Rochester, so that's his first of the year. That has been officially announced now. It wasn't announced that Mendoza gets an assist, but he should get one since it was a corner. And that would be Mendoza's first assist of the year. So, just cleaning up some housekeeping there. Here comes Dixon back. He's trying to equalize the game. And he'll fire on the run just wide. Dangerous attempt from 25 yards. Alex Dixon, the man who played at UNC for 3 seasons in Chapel Hill, native of Bay City, Texas, who was signed by Rochester last year. He does have MLS experience, played with the Houston Dynamo, scored his first pro goal on August 20th, 2011 in an Open Cup game against Real Salt Lake, but was waived by the Dynamo shortly afterwards in his second season in Rochester. 2 minutes of added time. And it'll be a throw for Rochester. Rochester is 5-0-6 on the road this season. Last road game was a 2-0 win against Toronto FC2 back on July 11th. A game that was scoreless going into the 80th minute. And then Rochester put in too late. And that's something Charlotte knows all too well. The head coach, Mike Jeffries, wants to guard against that. It was Dos Santos and Mendoza who scored that night. Have a foul and a hold called against Rochester here. Tony Walls, who's already picked up a yellow in this game, contesting that one by the referee, Nick Barbalescu. So Charlotte trying to go into the locker room with a lead, and we'll have to check and see, but I don't think Rochester has trailed at the half this year. At least not in any of the games we checked out over the last month or so. Here's Walls heading it forward. Bernardo Thorpe tried to bring it along. Apostolopoulos. Vanda Castile. As time winds down the first half, and what's been a fun game to watch here tonight, much more scoring than we thought it would be. It is not going to be a one-goal-and-done affair here. And there's the first half whistle. And Charlotte trying to win favor of the fans for a squad that has struggled at the gate throughout the course of this inaugural season. Well, this is going to help out a lot if they can hold on to this score right here. Goals by Alex Martinez and Tomas Zahorsky have given Charlotte not only a lead at the half, but also the notoriety of being the first team to score multiple goals in a game against Rochester this year. It is Independence 2, Rochester 1 here at halftime from Ramblewood Soccer Complex. We're going to come back in about 10 minutes. Stay with us live here on YouTube. Lots more to tell you about. Lots of drama perhaps to play out as well as Rochester tries to hold on to its 19-game undefeated streak. But they are down at the half for the first time this year, trailing Charlotte 2-1. We'll be back. Stay with us here live on YouTube. 1, 2. Back here live from Ramblewood Soccer Complex as Charlotte Independence has become the first team this year to score multiple goals in a game against the Rochester Rhinos. Rochester came into this game having yielded only 6 goals all season, but Charlotte wound up getting 2 goals in a span of 4 minutes during the second half. First, it was Alex Martinez, as we'll have the highlights coming up here in just a moment. Alex Martinez, his second of the year, that's in USL play, in the 34th minute to equalize the game at 1 off an assist from Tomasz Zahorski. And then Zahorski would capitalize on a header that went over the head of Brandon Miller. 2 assists have been given on that play, 1 to Paulo Del Piccolo. And for Paulo, that's his first point of the year. And Mishak Jerome also collects an assist, and that is his first point of the year. Grant Van de Castile did get credit for the first goal for Rochester. That came in the 32nd minute off a corner kick. There was some confusion at the press tent about what exactly happened on the play. Initially, they thought it was an own goal, but it turns out it was a goal for Rochester that went off the back of Van de Castile and into the net. And Johnny Mendoza will get credit for an assist there. And now a giveaway on the opening kickoff that Enzo Martinez ran up and almost burned the team on. And Rochester traveling now into the part of the field where the sun is going down. They're moving toward the northwest as we begin the second half of play here in what is a critical 45 minutes of football for both these teams. Charlotte fans want a handball on Mendoza, no whistle. Back the other way. Charlotte tries to create a turnover. It's Julian Ringoff with it. Ball poked in the air by Del Piccolo. Going up in the air to keep it alive, but Charlotte keeps it right back, or gets it right back, rather. Martinez run over. Foul will be called. It should be against Michael Garzi. So Charlotte with Martinez scoring his second. That's Alex Martinez. And then Tomasz Zahorski with his second. And again, for Zahorski, that's his 6th in all competitions this season. Alex Martinez with 2 goals in as many games in Charlotte, the first team to lead at the half against Rochester this year. I want to correct something I said earlier. Louisville City actually won today against Toronto FC 3-2. Louisville City, as of right now, at 38 points. They are 5 back of Rochester, which makes these next few minutes all the more important. Lamson runs up to play it. Jerome, after getting credit, that's the second goal this year for Charlotte in which 2 players were given an assist. Other one came against Richmond. Lamson back the other way. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Lamson in the goalkeeping situation. Charlotte has had 5 different starting goalkeepers this year. 4 have come and gone over the last 2 months ever since John Brunner suffered his cheek injury against the Carolina Railhawks in the second round of the U.S. Open Cup. He hasn't played since mid-May. Walls creates a turnover at midfield. Dos Santos collides with Jerome, and it's going to be Jerome hit with a foul. Dos Santos bringing his big frame, all 6'4" of it out, the 25-year-old, who also has some indoor soccer experience. He was all USL in week 8 when he scored in stoppage time to defeat Toronto FC 2. And remember how dangerous Rochester is in the final 15 minutes of games. 2 goals against Toronto FC 2 just a few weeks back. That was the last road victory, in the last road game for that matter, for the Rhinos. 2-1 Charlotte. Free cut coming here. Forbes puts it, but he puts it wide right. The Met deck is populated as we've seen it ever since it was erected about a month ago. The first game where it was open on July 4th against St. Louis FC. And speaking of St. Louis, they have a game tonight that will be of interest to Charlotte fans. Right now, Charlotte is in 10th place in the Eastern Conference, and they're 2 back of St. Louis. And the game on Wednesday night will be of prime importance because Charlotte is also 8 back of the New York Red Bulls, who are in 5th place in the Eastern Conference. Well, what appeared to be a clear dive by Apostolopoulos draws a whistle and gets a foul. Some of the fans surrounded above us here or around us screamed out, "No way," but Apostolopoulos does indeed get the call. Talking about St. Louis coming up in action. They're playing Oklahoma City coming up, Orange County tonight. Orange County Blues. Ball put forth by Vanda Castile, who collected his first goal. So it was a half. And we have Christian Valesky now checking in for Rochester. So Dos Santos will go out and Valesky in. Valesky from SIU Edwardsville, a rookie who has scored 6 goals. He is the leading scorer on this team. And Dos Santos, I guess in the opinion of head coach Bob Lilly, has not asserted himself as much in the forward position as his counterparts for Charlotte tonight, namely Tomas Zahorsky. Ribeiro. Here's Patrick Slogic. In his first game back, Patrick was also quiet during the first half. Ribeiro looking for passing lanes. Man who leads the team in minutes. Enzo Martinez down the field. Alvarez looks for Enzo in the penalty spot. He scores! Goody, goody gumdrops. Enzo Martinez. His second of the year. And for the second straight week, Carlos Alvarez has an assist. We'll see if they chain another assist to that. Alex Martinez could get credit for an assist as well. And for the first time this year, Rochester has a 2-goal deficit. It is 3-1. Enzo Martinez scores for the first time since the second game of the year back on April the 3rd when he notched the equalizer against the Wilmington Hammerheads down at Legion Field on the other side of the state. Mendoza looks to fire back quickly. His cross denied by Lyle Duckett. And Bob Lilly off the bench, realizing that his team's 19-game undefeated streak is in jeopardy. Garza. Mendoza now plays it forward. Quick touch by Dixon, but that's broken up by Duckett. Here's Zahorsky, denied and taken away. Garza ahead. Ring off. One touch by Dixon looking for Forbes. That was ruined by Ribeiro. So Enzo Martinez with the goal, and Alvarez will get the assist. Carlos Alvarez on a season-long loan from the Colorado Rapids. In his 3rd professional season he spent last year with Chivas USA and MLS. And that assist and that goal from Enzo, and again, it could very well be that Alex Martinez will get a second assist if they go hockey style on it in the scorer's tent. We'll get clarification after the game. You can check out USLsoccer.com if Alex Martinez does get credit for an assist deal. You can find it at USLsoccer.com. Also, check out USL Soccer on Twitter for what's going on. There are lots of updates going on throughout the league. Lots of news regarding franchises for next year. We got word last week, the official notification of an expansion franchise in Rio Grande Valley in South Texas that will be the new affiliate of Houston Dynamo. This season, the Charleston Battery serving as the affiliate of Houston, but Rio Grande Valley will fill that role next season. Ball last touched by Newnham to the far end of the field. Rochester will get it back now, trailing by 2 goals. In their 19-game undefeated streak is in jeopardy, to put it mildly. Some sloppy backline play, but really it's been some excellent passing tonight here by Rochester. Speaking of which, a good ball put forward here, but Meshach Jerome from his center back position does a stellar job of shutting it down. The most goals that Rochester has given up this year, by 2 in fact. They haven't given up more than 1 goal in a game all season until tonight, where they've yielded 3. Foul was called to the far end of the field. Forbes got whistled for it. Christian Valesky again has entered the game, replacing Steven Dos Santos. Valesky comes in with 6 goals and 18 points on the season. Pass ahead, very nicely done. Mendoza, Forbes had too hard of a first touch and allowed Duckett to clear it easily. Rochester feeling the urgency with a quick throw in. Forbes, 1v2 situation, forced back out. Mendoza, Apostolopoulos. Nice turnover created. It's Alex Martinez back the other way. Or excuse me, it's Enzo Martinez. Ball taken right back as Valesky managed to, or excuse me, that was Apostolopoulos who came in and created the turnover. But Matt Berner, or excuse me, Lamson comes out to take it right back for Charlotte. And the service there by Slogic to Martinez was too far. Sun has gone down. The humidity has been reduced sharply since the start of the game, and we have another substitution for Rochester. Looks like we're going to have Tony Banks leave the game here. And it's going to be number 4, Sean Tosh, coming in. So Tosh, the rookie from Northern Illinois, checking into the game. The 23-year-old from Oswego, Illinois, is in the game now.
Exiting the game, number 13, Mike Garzi.
And excuse me, it's Mike Garzi that's leaving the game. Banks is still in. So Garzi out, Tosh is in. Mendoza, poked from behind by Zahorski. He's playing some pretty aggressive defensive midfield here tonight for Independence. It's been a stellar defensive effort. They've given up 1 goal from set pieces on a quarter. Some confusion there on the clearance attempt. Duckett will send it away. It went off a hand. Fans to the far end of the field want a handball called. And what has turned into the best home crowd of the season, probably regardless of venue, here tonight for Independence. The season high in terms of a crowd was 2,200 in the season opener back on March 27th against Charleston. And we mentioned earlier that was at UNC Charlotte Transamerica Field. We're not too far away from, well, or far from capacity, I shouldn't say that, but we probably got over 2,200 in here right now. The stadium seated for 4,000. We've got a very healthy crowd here, and they've been treated to what is almost inarguably Charlotte's best performance of the year. It's either this game or the 3-0 victory back on May 8th at Winthrop University at Ingle Field when they defeated the Richmond Kickers. But there's still work to do with Charlotte ahead 3-1. Goals from Alex Martinez, Enzo Martinez, and Tomas Zahorski. Alvarez got the assist on the Enzo goal. In the 58th minute now, Martinez has to go off his foot now to play. So 2 substitutions made by Rochester of their allotted 5. Charlotte has yet to send in a reserve. And really the bench is somewhat limited without Jorge Herrera. Here's Alex Martinez running back the other way, shouldered from behind by Forbes. Play continues. Canardo up with it. Opts to go left. Dixon didn't see the ball coming. Del Piccolo there for the interception. Here's Alvarez and an overplay. Banks intercepts. Mendoza runs after it. He's got Banks in the box. Ball goes past him. Lamson goes through the box without touching it. Ball was cleared momentarily by Del Piccolo. Here's Mendoza. McMahon on the right provides the cross that goes over everything. So Pat McMahon tries to lay in a service that goes far post, but it was at a poor angle. As we come up on an hour into the game here, well, we talked about the promotional efforts last week by Charlotte. Of course, there were over 60,000 fans on hand last week at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, just uptown, about 6 miles up the road on I-77 for Chelsea versus Paris Saint-Germain, the champions of the Premier League going up against the champions of Ligue 1. And the promotional efforts certainly may have helped in this crowd here tonight, and it doesn't hurt that the team that is riding the league in USL also is in town. Oh, here's a soft play, great touch and a goal. And Christian Valesky will get it off an excellent touch. And Valesky now with his 7th of the year, and Rochester in a rare shootout is within 1. Christian Valesky fielded that touch very nicely. And it's now 3-2. And Valesky, you saw him waste no time. He raced right to the net, picked up the ball, and put it right on the center spot. So Valesky gets the goal, his 7th of the year. And now Del Piccolo back the other way. He will try to fire, taken down in the box. Oh, we're going to have a penalty. Penalty will be called. Sean Toch wound up fouling Del Piccolo in the box. And it's going to be a penalty. Nick Barbalescu calls the penalty in the box. And we'll see who'll take it now. It was a call that came against Hodge. Now keep in mind, Charlotte doesn't have their top 2 penalty kickers in the game. Ryan Finley's still on the bench and Jorge Herrera is injured. So Charlotte's going to have to find somebody on the fly, and it looks like it's going to be Carlos Alvarez. Toch offering a little bit of an argument here. So it's going to be Alvarez gunning for his 2nd goal of the season. Carlos Alvarez has not scored since June 13th, the equalizer early in the second half against the Pittsburgh Riverhawks. He'll try to end that scoreless drought right now and put Shirley up 2. And before he can do so, Nick Barbalescu sensed a couple of players about to enter the edge of the box when they shouldn't, as they anticipate a rebound. It's Alvarez shooting against Brian Miller, the native of Charlotte, in net for Rochester. He scores! Die by the sword. Carlos Alvarez notches the penalty. And just like that, Charlotte up again, 4-2. Officially in the 61st minute, Alvarez now with a 3-point half. After assisting on the Enzo Martinez goal, he scores on the penalty and his first penalty attempt of the year. Charlotte has only missed 1 penalty all season, and now 3 of 4 on penalty kicks. The one miss by Jorge Herrera. That came against Richmond. So Charlotte up 4-2. Here's Forbes losing the ball. Enzo Martinez takes over, plays it to his brother Alex. Enzo keeps play going. And then Enzo taken down from behind by Forbes, who'll be whistled for the foul. Mike Jeffries just watching the game from the far sideline. Don't really sense any players, see some players warming up, but no one has reported to the table as of yet. But you can bet some substitutions are coming, probably more from a defensive end. Slogic will go far sideline looking to flip the field. Slogic managed to get that one to Noonan. Now the assist, Alvarez just wide. Fine service by Ben Noonan. And some lapses, surprising lapses from the Rochester center backs. Usually you don't see players pop open that free on an entrance like that if you've watched some of the Rochester games this year. But there, Carlos Alvarez went into the box unchecked, and he was free off a fine pass from Noonan. Apostolopoulos plays it along for Mendoza. There to ruin that attempt was Ribeiro, and down the field it goes. So 4 goals here for Charlotte. Probably the last thing anyone was expecting. We were expecting a chess match type of pace here this evening, but that's not what we've received at all. Here's Ohorski. Mike Jeffries has prepared his team well. Noonan sends it down, but that'll be taken by Miller. If you notice some Dalmatian costumes and police costumes with dogs in them tonight. You might have noticed that. And we have a police department versus fire department game scheduled for after tonight's contest. So it's been a busy day here at the Ramblewood Soccer Complex. Earlier today, they had a soccer moms game. And we'll have that contest between various members of Charlotte's finest coming up here immediately following this one. Newnham races for the ball. Apostolopoulos is there to beat him to it. Ribeiro holding service. Coming up on 35 minutes remaining. Charlotte 35 minutes away from becoming the first team this year to beat the Rochester Rhinos. Pat McMahon down Alex Martinez. Coming over to help him is Banks. Ball goes out of play. Charlotte throw. So Alex Martinez scored his second. Won't be the game winner as of right now. It's going to go to Enzo Martinez unless something changes. For Enzo, that'd be his first game winner of the year. But Rochester will have something to say about that. This is a team obviously not used to losing, but more to the point, they find ways to win. And they've done that time and time again this year, although they're not necessarily a cardiac team that has had to go for 2 goals in the final 25 or 35 minutes in order to summon a draw. Forbes tries to play it along, intercepted. Enzo Martinez creates an opportunity. Nice sidestep. Enzo taken down. No call. Enzo Martinez managed to sidestep Vanda Castile to the far side, and Apostolopoulos was also in there. It looked like that it was Dixon, it was Forbes who got in there and may have laid a questionable foul, but I'm sure many Rochester fans feel, and handball is going to be called here against Martinez. Many fans probably up north feel that Charlotte already got their gift corner for the night a moment ago, and Enzo Martinez given a yellow for that handball. That will be his 3rd yellow of the season. Remember, Alex Martinez picked up his 5th yellow earlier tonight, which means he will be suspended for Wednesday's game against the New York Red Bulls 2. And many Charlotte fans everywhere hoping that Jorge Herrera will be back and active coming up on Wednesday night. He's out of tonight's game, missing his 4th straight game because of a calf injury. Some fans online were wondering about the whereabouts of a regular defender, Anua Abasi. He was on the team score sheet and is on the bench tonight, so if he's injured, we have not heard any word about that from Coach Bob Lilly. The 1988 George Mason graduate and head coach of Rochester. Nice body put forward there by Slogic as he shut down Alex Dixon in an attempt to get that one in. Another good ball played in, and another fine play by the Charlotte back line. 4-2 to score, and it looks like our first Charlotte substitute is coming to the bench. May very well be Raphael Cox. This is Tony Walls. Alex Martinez comes in. Walls continues moving forward. Walls will look for a cross, tried to find Dixon. It was taken out by Jerome, and Charlotte will concede the corner. This will be the 5th corner of the night for Rochester. Keep in mind, they scored on 1. Grant Vanda Castile had a ball go off his back and into the net that was served in by Johnny Mendoza. Mendoza will field this corner. Mendoza picked up his 1st assist of the season tonight. That ball is headed out by Del Piccolo. Running on to keep it in play, Sean Todge, who picked up the foul that led to a Carlos Alvarez corner. He'll fire. Ball goes deflected and into the net deck. Belial Duckett was there to send it away over the end line. Corner number 6 of the night for the Rhinos. Well, the heat has died down. It was 93 degrees at game time. Quite comfortable outside now, and the Charlotte fans will love it even more if they can hold on to this 4-2 lead over the last 20 minutes and change. And the highest scoring game of the year for the Rhinos. Ball is deflected after the corner by Mendoza. Duckett got a hand on it. There to keep it in play is Dixon. Alex in a 1v1. Moves on against Duckett on the end line, and it'll be another corner conceded. So Rochester, again, applying pressure. We talked about how good they are in scoring late in games. And this is not exactly a veteran team. Valesky checked in a moment ago. He's a rookie.
Rochester corner kick taken by
I also have Marcos Ugardi on the field tonight. And we saw Sean Tosh check in earlier. He's also a rookie. The corner easily fielded by Meshach Jerome. Forrest puts it back into play. Here's the attempt from distance. Mendoza just put it over the crossbar. And Jack's Militia up on the Met deck, cheering as they almost had a chance to field one. And now we'll have our first Charlotte substitution of the game, and it will indeed be Raphael Cox checking in. Several players walking toward the bench. We'll see who's going to go out. Looks like it's going to be Carlos Alvarez, who will leave having put up a goal and an assist in 25 minutes of action here in the second half. So Alvarez assisted on the opening goal for Independence that was scored by Enzo Martinez, and then he put home the penalty for insurance, and now he leaves the game. And Raphael Cox will join that back line, an important fifth defender, and now Johnny Mendoza will leave the game for Rochester as they will make their third substitution.
We had some substitutions in the 70th minute.
Mendoza is out,
Number 14, Raphael Cox. Exiting the game
and coming in for him will be number 9. That is Colin Ralph, an extra striker coming in, a veteran in his third season, who once played at Louisville. So Colin Ralph is in the game, replacing Mendoza. Cox coming on. Couldn't get to that ball in time as Pat McMahon was there. Vanda Castile.
Number 5, Luis Apostolopoulos. And number 11, Johnny Mendoza.
Well, Apostolopoulos has also left the game. Here's Ralph going to the far side. And it didn't stay in bounds. It'll be Charlotte ball. It was a substitution that we didn't get initially there. Looking to see who that might be. Apostolopoulos out of the game now in that back line.
Fans, the following message is brought to you by Allstate. Want to be your own boss and earn what you are really worth? Learn how you can become an
Coming up on the 73rd minute.
Visit allstateagent.com today or head over to the Allstate tent located in the northeast corner next to the stands.
At Ringolf. Toch tries to lay the pressure on Del Piccolo. Toch goes down, and a foul is called against Charlotte. So 4 substitutions now for Rochester. They have 1 more remaining. As Valesky has checked in, so has Toch, Colin Ralph. All now in the contest here as Rochester looks for a furious comeback, trailing by 2.
73rd minute, entering the game. Number 27, Dominique Baji.
And now Dominique Baji comes in.
Tomasz Zahorsky.
And Tomasz Zahorsky, who had a 3-point night, scored a goal in the first half and assisted on the goal by Alex Martinez. He will take a seat. Best game of the season for Tomasz Zahorsky in USL play. And speaking of Baji, who was a loanee
Follow at USL on Twitter.
from Colorado,
Insider.
he had the ball just a moment ago. Foul was whistled. Ribeiro drew it.
Check out at USL on Twitter.
Here's Slogic. Puts his left foot into it. Martinez gets his smaller frame up against the 6'2" Sean Toch. Now Del Piccolo moves to the left. Cox, we thought we'd see more of him on the back line, but he's playing much more up the field than we thought he would be. Charlotte not in the mood to score any more goals. They want to milk the clock here. Leading 4-2 in the 74th minute here, looking to end Rochester's 19-game undefeated streak. what a result this would be for Charlotte considering who's ahead. Pass down the field. Martinez goes up against Taj. Charlotte maintains possession. It's Enzo Martinez. Ribeiro, Del Piccolo now. Moves to the left. Cox will apply pressure on Pat McMahon. Raphael goes into the box, and the ball goes over the sideline. It'll be a long throw. So Charlotte with 2 substitutions in the game now. After the addition of Dominic Baggi. Del Piccolo, young man who played at Notre Dame, double-teamed, and a takeaway. Tony Walls was there. Now the ball free. Baggi with an attempt. Miller knocks it down. Rebound free. Enzo Martinez wasn't closing, but Miller managed to smother it. Enzo searching for the brace and nearly got it. Pass up ahead, and taking it down is Rolfe. He's got Valesky in the box. Valesky's got it now. Left side taken down in the box. No call. Slogic was on hand with Jerome. Everyone in the grandstand held their breath for the moment, but no whistle. Here's Cox back the other way. So Christian Valesky searching for his own 2-goal night, looking for a penalty that didn't come. Bernardo Thorpe. Rolfe back to Thorpe now. Rolfe goes down, no call. Vanda Castile. Thorpe in the box, comes in on net. Valesky with a chance, and then as Lamson comes over to dive on it, looked like a player for Rochester wound up getting in there a little too close to some of the Charlotte players' likings. Rolfe being checked on. Valesky was the one making an attempt on net. Looks like we'll have another substitution coming up here for Charlotte in just a moment. But first, the referees want to make sure that Colin Ralph is okay. Coming up on minute 77. Charlotte scoring more goals against Rochester than anyone this season, leading 4-2. Charlotte has put up 4 against a team that had not given up 2 goals in any of its first 19 games. Much more activity here for Rochester. 2,145 here tonight. That is just a shade shy of the season opener against Charlotte, or against Charleston rather. But still a fabulous showing here tonight. And we hope many of them will be back for Charlotte's first weeknight home game of the year on Wednesday against the New York Red Bulls 2. But first business to be taken care of here. Here's Rolfe coming back the other way. Rochester with it. And a good takeaway, an attempt, and a fine 1-ball. Alex Martinez doing his job there to the far end of the field, wresting control of that ball. And if you sit back and relax right now, you do so at your own danger, because typically this is when Rochester is at its most dangerous offensively. Baggi goes up for the ball. Rochester will take it down. Vanda Castile, who scored his first of the night to open the scoring. That was equalized just 2 minutes later by Alex Martinez. Pat McMahon. Double teamed by Del Piccolo and Cox. Slogic takes the errant pass. In minute 78, Raphael will charge up the sideline. McMahon looks to clamp down on him along with Alex Dixon. Del Piccolo. Cox now looking for an open passing lane, and he gets it.
Fans, how'd you like to win a Nike backpack or a pair of 2016 season tickets? All you have to do is post.
We found our missing Rochester player. It was Timmy Mulgrew who came into the game for Apostolopoulos. Mulgrew, the 5'9" forward who is on loan from the New England Revolution. Throw supplied by McMahon as Rochester looks for a quick answer. So Mulgrew in the game. He's to the far end of the field, moving down the left channel. Bernardo Thorpe Rochester with one substitution remaining. Charlotte's got 3. Forbes looks for Dixon. Ribeiro tries to break it up, can't. Enzo Martinez steals it right away on a fine defensive play. Cox mans the left. Plays it forward. Baji tries to run up and catch up with it. Head away nicely. That time by Julian Ringolf. Vanda Castile. Forbes ahead to Dixon. Rochester with some running room now. Dixon tries to dribble forward, but Ribeiro's right in front of him. McMahon. Nice soft touch put forward. Valesky. Dixon tried to return it to Christian. That was headed away by Mishak Jerome, who has been as reliable a center back as you can be. Up the sideline comes Cox. Oh, a nice pass to Baji. He moves in, taken down, but Baji clearly dove on the play as he moved on against Ringolf, and that won't draw a flag, or a whistle rather. Or it could have been a flag by the assistant referee if you want to get picky about it. Forbes on. 10 minutes and change remaining. It would be the biggest result in the young history of Charlotte Independence to beat the unbeaten Rochester Rhinos. They have a 2-goal cushion and 10 minutes and change to work with. Vanda Castile looks up the field. Valesky, along with Milgrew, trying to position themselves in front of the box. Forbes. It was Alex Martinez who started the scoring. Thomas Ohorski gave Charlotte the 2-1 lead. To open up the second half, it was Enzo Martinez scoring. And just when it seemed everything was safe and all the hay was in the barn, Christian Valesky wound up scoring. Ball put forward, headed away once again by Mishak Jerome. Cox again chases the ball up the left side. Baji runs into the box. Milgrew there to pressure him. Strip the ball away, and he keeps it from going over the end line. Fine play by Timmy Milgrew. Forbes. That pass too far. Charlotte will get it in the attacking third. But after Valesky's goal, a penalty was drawn less than a minute later by Paulo Del Piccolo on a foul against Sean Toch. And eventually the goal, the penalty, converted by Carlos Alvarez, who also assisted on the earlier goal by Martinez in the second half. The cross by Cox, not of quality, headed back, and Miller takes it back for the Rhinos, who have to act fast in order to keep their undefeated streak at 20. Otherwise, the mark set by Richmond in 2013 will stand for another year. Vanda Castile, Ringolf. Sean Toch with it. And out of play. Martinez touched it last. Looks like Mike Jeffries is pretty content with the hand that he's got out there right now, as all the would-be reserves are at the far end of the field as Charlotte wins possession once again. So the second best crowd of the season that gathered on a hot night, at least to start out here at Ramblewood Soccer Complex, and they're going to go home very happy with Charlotte now firmly in the playoff race, having beaten a Rochester team that has led the USL regular season championship ever since May started. They tied their first game, but then won their second, and they just kept right on rolling ever since. Here's a pass coming on to shot attempt just wide. It was a soft first touch by Valesky. Forbes ran on late, it was Alex Dixon who ran on late and chalked up a line drive that ricocheted hard off the net deck. It would have been Dixon's 4th goal of the season. The 5th-year pro nearly made it a 1-goal game. That was a fine touch off the long ball that was played by Timmy Milgrew. But instead, Charlotte maintains the 2-goal lead. Baji in a duel is going to be hit with a foul. Sean Toch wound up drawing that one. Mentioned Dominic Bacci coming into the game. He is a rookie from Boston University, a native of Senegal who saw action with the Colorado Rapids earlier this year. And we have another foul whistle. This one will be against Valesky for Rochester, and with that we'll have a substitution. Charlotte will send in another player after all. And Enzo Martinez will leave the game. A great night for Enzo, as he wound up scoring in the second half and has what stands to be the game winner. It looks like Henry Kalungi is going to come on and replace him. So Kalungi, in his 6th season, former member of the Richmond Kickers, who was injured, missed all of last season because of a torn ACL that he suffered in a friendly. One of those summertime friendlies that you may have read about if you followed USL. Richmond, in fact, played West Brom Albion. Or excuse me, they played Crystal Palace. It was Charleston who played West Brom Albion. But last season, Henry wound up getting injured in one of those and missed a full season. Didn't come back until this summer when Charlotte wound up signing him. Henry out there now on the back line. Charlotte is 5 minutes away. Jerome has been stellar on the center line tonight. Pass up the field, Bacci offside. Flag was up. It credits Mishak for another quality service, and with that we will have the final substitution of the game for Rochester. And it looks like Pat McMahon is coming off, as Charlotte leads 4-2. And it's going to be number 16, Drew Ruggles, that will come on for Pat McMahon. Ruggles trying to bring on some offense here when Rochester needs it late, trailing by 2. Charlotte was the first team to go into Rochester this year and come out with a point off a scoreless tie that was played 2 weeks ago tonight. Tonight, it was a high-scoring affair, something Rochester almost never has. They certainly haven't had one this year. But this evening, it has turned into a Charlotte night. Charlotte now still has 2 more substitutions to work with, and as we mentioned, Rochester has exhausted their substitution allotment. Pat McMahon out. Ruggles plays it to the far end. Forbes. Van de Castile. Milgrew moves it forward, and Walls played it right over the railing and into the first row. So Charlotte, with a win here tonight, will temporarily put themselves ahead of St. Louis for 10th place, or 9th place, I should say, in the standings. There are games that Charlotte will be watching tonight. Keep in mind, St. Louis has a game tonight against the Orange County Blues. Here's Cox. Bacci is onside. He's got a chance at it. Overran Van de Castile. Drops it off for Del Piccolo, who's got room. Charlotte more concerned about running down some clock now. Alex Martinez. Look at that dribble as he edges to the far sideline in the 88th minute. Kalungi ahead. Belial Duckett. The center backs have been stellar tonight, aside from one slip-up that led to a goal by Christian Valesky. Now Taj to Valesky. Intercepted by Ribeiro. Milgrew takes it right back. Here comes Forbes. Milgrew ahead, looking forward. He's got Wolf along with Valesky to his left, but good drop back pressure. Kalungi, along with Duckett and Mishak Jerome, were there to keep Rochester from advancing any further. Long ball ahead. Header is on, but it goes just wide by Rolfe. That was a quality play. Ruggles put in an excellent ball that time. Drew Ruggles, the 6'1" player who last season played with the Wilmington Hammerheads.
put in a fine ball that glanced off the head of Rolfe. And Colin told him there was nothing wrong at all about that pass. Coming up on the end of regulation into added time, Ruggles shoved Baji in the back, leading to a foul. Rochester now will have its lead for the regular season championship go down to 5 points. And Louisville City will have a game at hand against the Rhinos after Louisville City's win earlier today against Toronto FC2. We'll see how much added time comes on. That'll be announced in just a moment. Jerome, Del Piccolo looks to keep it in play and does. Martinez finds Del Piccolo, who's had an excellent game tonight. He has picked up his first point of the year off an assist that came on the second Charlotte goal by Tomasz Zahorski. Foul was drawn. Kalungi has Charlotte now taking the air out of the ball, and why not? They will become the first team to defeat the Rochester Rhinos this year. They've scored more goals than any team Rochester has faced this year. This has been a result that has been earned and well earned by this independent squad. 2 minutes of added time. 2 more minutes, and the celebration will be on. And the Met deck, as crowded as we've seen it, will be jumping for joy, and why not? Baji taken down, and the foul whistle. Baji, looks like there was some words, and, well, actually, they called the foul against Baji, excuse me. Official must have pointed the wrong way because he initially pointed toward Charlotte's end. Regardless, Ruggles tries another long ball, and Matt Lamson, possibly in his final week in Charlotte. What can you say about this young man? He beat stage 4 lymphoma cancer. He actually started a 4-game homestand playing against Charlotte when he was on loan by Columbus to the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. He lost against Charlotte that night, and then for July 4th, he was loaned to Charlotte when Michael Lish was sent back to Houston. And now he will earn his second consecutive victory in net. And there wasn't a better time to get it than against the best team in the USL this year for the Rochester Rhinos. Added time continues to wind down. The celebration starting. This will be the best celebration in the young history of the Ramblewood Soccer Complex. And there is the final whistle. Charlotte Independence has become the first team to defeat the Rochester Rhinos this season. Rochester's undefeated string is over at 19 in a row. And Charlotte has claimed its 6th victory of the season, scoring 4 goals. And Independence defeats the Rhinos 4-2. And for the first time this year, Rochester tastes defeat. And the celebration is on in the Met deck. Charlotte Independence has defeated the Rochester Rhinos 4-2. A goal and an assist each for Tomasz Zahorski and Carlos Alvarez. Alex Martinez also notches a goal. So does Enzo Martinez. And look at the Charlotte players. Belial Duckett, the first man down to applaud Jack's Militia. A crowd of over 2,000, the second best crowd of the season on hand to watch what was unquestionably the best performance of the year by Independence. They would need it in order to end Rochester's 19-game undefeated string. Independence has done it. They down Rochester 4-2. We'll pause here and come back for highlights from tonight's game in just a moment. As the celebration is on in the Queen City, Charlotte downs Rochester 4-2. Stay with us here on YouTube.
Those t-shirts are available in youth, women's, and men's sizes, and they're 20% off tonight tonight, so stop by the merchandise tent before you leave Ramblewood. Fans, we'd like to thank everyone who came out tonight. We greatly appreciate your support and look forward to seeing you again on Wednesday, August 5th at 7:30 p.m. right here at Ramblewood Soccer Stadium as your Independents take on the New York Red Bulls 2. Just a reminder, fans, the Fire versus Police game is going to kick off shortly. If you're going to stick around to watch, we ask that you move to sections 5 and 6 in the East Stand for the best view. Once again, if you're sticking around for the Fire and Police game, please move to sections 5 and 6 in the East Stand. We thank you for your cooperation. Fans, to get tickets to any Charlotte home game, visit charlotteindependence.com or give us a call at 7.
Jeff Hamlin back with you here as you see preparations for the Charlotte Police versus Charlotte Fire Department game that's about to take place here tonight. But boy, the fans here who checked this one out are still buzzing about the performance that Charlotte Independence put on. And downing Rochester and ending Rochester's 19-game undefeated streak, 4-2. Charlotte puts up a season high, 4 goals. That's not a season high for the team, but actually, let me check myself. That was a season high for the team in USL play. They did have more than that against the Northern Stars in the U.S. Open Cup first round. But in USL play, this is the best Charlotte has done since the 3-0 victory against Richmond on May 8th. And it's just the second time all year in which Charlotte has scored more than 2 goals in a game. It's really a stunning result when you get right down to it. When you saw how well Charlotte's back line played at times in this game, and the much ballyhooed Rochester back line just had an off night here tonight. It's no other way you can explain it. And the funny thing about it was the game started off pretty well for Charlotte, but then they gave up the first goal of the contest in the 32nd minute off a corner. Charlotte had played very disciplined, controlling the flow of play for the most part, but then Charlotte gave up a goal on a set piece. Grant Vandecastile was given credit for a goal off a corner that bounced in off the back of Vandecastile, bounced off his back, and it was Johnny Mendoza who will be given credit for an assist for that play. And Charlotte was down 1-0, but that didn't get the team down too much. And Independence came right back. 2 minutes later, it was Alex Martinez scoring off an assist from Tomasz Zahorski, a cross from the right side on a shot inside the box. Zahorski winds up scoring on the assist. Martinez has now scored in back-to-back weeks. And for Alex, this will be his final game for about a week because he won't play on Wednesday night against the New York Red Bulls. His next game will be against the Red Bulls, but it'll be against them on August 12th up in New York City because Martinez, during the first half of play, also picked up his 5th yellow card, meaning that will be an automatic suspension, and so he will miss Wednesday night's game. But Martinez did get the equalizer. Charlotte tied the game at 1, and then 4 minutes later, Charlotte wound up getting its 2nd goal from Tomas Zahorski, who assisted on the Martinez tally. Zahorski on a header, 2 assists on the play. It was set up by Del Piccolo. Mishek Jerome also got an assist, the first assist of the season for both Del Piccolo and Jerome. And it is 2-1 in favor of Charlotte going into the half. Charlotte came out in the second half, scored a goal in the 49th minute. Got it from Enzo Martinez. Enzo, on an assist from Carlos Alvarez, made it 3-1. More than likely, and we have not checked with the scores table yet, but you could attach an assist to Alex Martinez with that as well. Don't know if they're going to do that, but we'll see. Regardless, that made it 3-1. And just as everything seemed comfortable, Rochester wound up scoring as Christian Valesky scored on a gorgeous pass up the field by Tony Walls. That made it 3-2. Valesky, his 7th goal of the year, and that leads the team. But Charlotte, 1 minute later, would score on a penalty kick. The penalty was drawn by Paolo Del Piccolo. Penalty was whistled against Sean Taj, who checked in during the second half. Carlos Alvarez took the penalty. He scored, and that ended the scoring. And Rochester had a couple of threats here and there over the last 10 minutes, but couldn't put one in the net. And Charlotte comes away with a huge result as they win here tonight to even their record at 6-6-5 on the year. They are now at 23 points. That puts them ahead of St. Louis. And the good news for Charlotte is that they still have 2 games at hand on St. Louis. Looking at the rest of the schedule here tonight in USL on this 1st of August, right now wrapping up Wilmington versus Pittsburgh, along with Harrisburg versus Richmond. That game also factors into the playoff plans for Charlotte. Right now, as we look at the standings, trying to get word on some other games, Charlotte, as of this moment, is 2 points back of Pittsburgh for the 6th and final playoff spot. And Pittsburgh is off tonight. The New York Red Bulls 2-5 ahead of Charlotte. They will play tomorrow against St. Louis. And keep in mind, St. Louis right now is a point behind Charlotte. And SLFC also has, as we mentioned, they have played 2 more games than Independence. So lots to sort out when it comes to the playoffs. We mentioned Harrisburg's game. We'll try to get a report on that before we go off the air here against Richmond tonight, as Richmond is hosting that game over at City Stadium. And we'll do a little quick search here on Twitter before we wrap things up here this evening, and we can find out what's going on there. And we know that Rochester has now won over Harrisburg 4-2, their final as well tonight up in Richmond. So that's some good news for Charlotte and their playoff hopes, because they are 2 back now of Harrisburg City. And they also have a game at hand against the Islanders. So that's going to do it for our broadcast tonight. What an effort was by Charlotte Independence as they downed the previously undefeated Rochester Rhinos 4-2. Carlos Alvarez and Tomas Zahorski each with a point and assist. Charlotte has won 2 straight. Our next broadcast comes your way on Wednesday night at 7 o'clock as Charlotte will take on the New York Red Bulls 2 here from Ramblewood Soccer Complex. Again, we'll be on the air here on YouTube at around 6:50. Join us then. Charlotte ends the undefeated string of the Rochester Rhinos tonight. Charlotte Independence 4, the Rochester Rhinos 2. Rochester's 19-game undefeated streak is over. Thanks tonight to our director, Mark Rowland, and also our cameramen, TJ Harrell, Trey Harrell, and Akeem Robinson. My name is Jeff Hamlin. Thank you for watching here on YouTube.